Welcome back to Fab for Less and another budget deck tech. Today we've got a classic constructed deck costing just 50 of your finest English pounds. We're on Dromai. She could be a meta player this winter. Let's get in. Dromai is the latest illusionist hero from Uprising. She has the ability to create ash whenever you pitch a red card. Ash doesn't do a lot by itself, but later on we're going to be turning this ash into dragons. The weapon of choice for all budding draconic illusionist heroes is the Storm of Sendikai. It allows your dragons to attack for 0 cost. The name of the game here is to create ash, plenty of it. Then we're going to transform that ash into ash wings and other bigger dragons, eventually overwhelming our opponent. In the head slot we're running the Ironhide Helm. We don't mind paying 1 into this because it allows us to generate an ash ready for our turn when we need it. Deep Blue allows us to bottom a card from our hand to create 3 resources useful for paying for those higher cost dragons. Silken Form can generate plenty of ash with its Quell ability and also generates an ash wing from that ash that we've created. Silent Stilettos can help us avoid phantasm triggers in a pinch and also provide some stable arcane barrier. We've got some optional extra Ironhide equipment to avoid some on-hit effects from some of the decks that we might face. In the early part of the game we want to be generating plenty of ash. The main way to do this is to pitch red cards into our attacks. So, we've got Sweeping Blow that also generates an ash when we attack with it, Billowing Mirage that costs 1 and create an ash wing from some of the ash we've created, and Embermore Senupai costs 2, which allows us to create 2 ash, but also comes in for 8, which is a really good rate. We can also create ash defensively. Oasis Respite can mitigate plenty of damage while also creating us an ash when we pitch for it. Necria is a dragon that if we can get it out early, it's a 1 dragon ash factory. And the main way to create ash and ash wings when we need them is Rate the Embers. This is going to be a key card in this deck. We need to buy ourselves time while we're setting up. We've got plenty of defensive options in the form of Oasis Respite and the classic Sink Below and Fate Foreseen defense reactions that can allow us to mitigate some of the damage that we're going to face. We've got Sand Cover that can also come in against some of those heavier hitting decks. Passing Mirage can also be a nice card to get out early against some decks, as it can help protect our dragons later on from those pesky phantasm triggers. Once we've got ash available, it's time to start assembling our dragon army. We've got plenty of cards that allow us to transform ash into Aether Ash Wings. Skittering Sands also provides a nice buff for that ash wing until the end of turn. Rate the Embers is a key card, especially late in the game, as it can really overwhelm our opponents with the number of ash wings it generates. We want to supplement our dragon army with some bigger dragons. Invoke Yenderize sticks around as it has an endurance counter on it which mitigates some damage. Invoke Asvalai costs 0 and also provides some arcane damage against our opponent, and Kyloria gets real value when it allows us to draw cards on hit. Mirage allows us to protect our dragons from Phantasm. Crumai also does that, but in a slightly different way, generating action points. And Vincerakai is just a big beater, which the opponent has to deal with fairly quickly. Against slower, more control-y decks, we might choose to run Necria, which is a 1 dragon ash factory. It's really complemented by Uvia as well, which can help turn that ash into dragons slowly over time, amassing an army. We've also got some control tricks of our own, with Themai preventing our opponent from playing cards or activating abilities during our turn. We also have the option of running the 3 legendary majestic dragons because they're big and splashy and fun is what this game should be about. So we've got Dominia, Tumulti and Optimai. You might not run all 3, you might run specific ones into specific matchups, but they all offer on-hit effects that the opponent has to deal with. Let's have a look at some gameplay. I think gameplay is the best way to look at this deck as opposed to a sample turn, because our strategy will change as the game progresses. You can see here in these early turns, we're generating ash and we're mitigating damage to keep our life total similar to our opponents. Where possible, we're creating ash wings, starting to get our engine online. We're in the mid-game now, and it looks like we're facing down a Channel Mount heroic turn, so we know we're going to take some damage. We've got plenty of Ash Wings, but we need to now start to put out some bigger dragons and threaten our opponent more. Mirage Eye is great here, as it prevents Phantasm triggers from our opponent, which is easily triggered while Channel Mount Heroic's out on the board. Asvalai also threatens more Arcane while Burn Them All is on the board, and you can see how our board state is quickly beginning to overwhelm our opponent. The board state is simply getting too big, and the opponent knows they're going to have to deal with it, so they begin to attack into our dragons even on a Channel Mount heroic turn. This is where our dragons are doing a really good job in defence as well as being a threat on the board. We've still got plenty that we can defend with, and Quelling lets us generate Ash and improve our board state even further. Now we're entering the endgame. A red Rake the Embers is exactly what we want to see at this point. We can really overwhelm our opponent with more Aether Ash Wings here. Our opponent is forced to block with loads of cards from hand. Burn Them All's been on board for 4 turns now as well, generating us loads of value. The opponent's down to 6. We've got a last ditch attempt, but there's nothing they can do. It's too late. Another Burn Them All is going to seal the deal. Kyloria is a must block dragon, otherwise the game is over now. Luckily they've got the sigil to block it out. The opponent's putting a brave face on it, but this game is done. We've got a full grip, we can play out yet more dragons, and that's the game. The deck runs 12 blue pitch cards. We don't want to be running too many because we need reds to pitch for Dromai's ability. We've got 18 ways to create Ash Wings from our Ash and 24 dragons in total. Let's see what you get in this deck for your hard-earned cash. You only get 6 Majestics, which is down on the usual count, but we're up on the rare count with 21. You do get a full loadout and sideboard included. Our Fab for Less budget allows 50 English pounds for a classic constructed deck, and that includes delivery. Using the Cardmarket Shopping Wizard, our list came in at €29.79. And at the current exchange rate, that means the deck comes in at a shade over 25 quid. Are you sure? At that price, this has to be the bargain of the century. If anyone tells you that Flesh and Blood isn't affordable, just point them right here. We're going to have some gameplay going up soon with this deck, so subscribe if you want to see some of that. Until next time, see you then.